You wanna go back to a place where we can hide. You the legends of memory and storage. Crucial brings you the ultimate performance in gaming. Legendary products. Precision engineered. For speed and stability. Crucial ballistics.
AMD Ryzen and Windows 11 presents the Esports Club Challenger Series, powered by Crucial and our broadcast partner of Loco. We have got some banging matches ahead in which Enigma are going to be taking a rematch versus Velocity. After that, we're going to be following it with Andami Army, versus Orangutan. Two games which you do not want to miss, and thankfully all the action will be here throughout the course of the qualifiers. I'm Newcastle Kramer 3, and fresh from the Yakuza games, I'm joined by Baba Gusta. How you feeling about this one, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Kramer. And also, what a way to start it off. I'm sorry about that. What a way to start it off on the group stages, folks. The first matchup, which will be Team Velocity Gaming, who will go up against Enigma on the first of Group B stages. And then, just like Kramer said, we have the second matchup, which will happen. That is AMD Army versus Team Orangutan. Two of the best matches that we're going to have in the Challenger Series, folks. And it will be electrifying as we talk about it. Kramer, I'm very much excited to see what's going to happen because the winner of this group stages can have a chance to get into the land stages, which will happen in Bengaluru, Kramer. So, how do you feel about that? And who do you think is going to win it out?
I mean, just one word, LAN. I'm happy. Chance to try and smuggle myself into India as well. So we'll see. We'll see who will be over at that LAN. And I won't lie to you, Baba. For me, Velocity and Enigma, I feel like we're looking at the two teams that are probably going out of this group. Unless something kind of horrific happens in Group B. These two definitely go into this as the clear favourites. And sort of on the topic of Velocity and Enigma, this is a rivalry that they are more than used to. Velocity, kind of 2021. I mean, even if you go back to kind of late 2020. They beat Enigma kind of fundamentally over the course of what was a kind of 16, 17 games. They only lost once. This is over grand finals, lands, qualifiers. They were just better. We've hit 2022. We've had 3 games, all best of 3s, one of which was a LAN, and Enigma have beat them every time. Something changed in the Enigma camp, and Velocity haven't been able to figure it out yet. And maybe they're looking to be the Enigma, and we'll see if they're able to keep that style we've sort of associated with them going into this series.
Yeah, absolutely, Kramer. We've seen Velocity Gaming make tons of changes. They've accomplished a lot. The same thing can be said to Enigma Gaming too. And to start it off, to go head to head in the first group stages, it'll be a wild adventure for both of us, Kramer. We're talking about the schedule that we've had. We've already had our first qualifiers done. Second qualifiers was already done at our hands. We've already got our wild card pick, which was AMD Army. And now we are at the final stage, the group stages. We have our 3 invited teams, 4 qualified teams from both first and second qualifiers, and also our first wildcard team. Only the top 4 teams from this region will have a chance to be in the spot at the Esports Club Arena, the biggest arena, which will happen in Bengaluru. So if you guys want to register in, if you want to, have fun, just make sure to check the link in the description down below. We have our free tickets. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, claim your tickets, and we will see you guys in Bengaluru, which will happen on August 12th, 13th, and 14th. And oh boy, will it be an amazing one to look at, Kramer. This will be the biggest event, and I really can't wait for that to happen.
I believe it's also the Esports Club, one of their first LANs as well.
Yeah.
So considering how high quality this online stuff has been, at LAN it's just going to be even better. So there aren't many regions to give out on this LAN. Furthermore, as well, Bangalore, very very beautiful city. So there's all the more reason to go. Of course, let's take a look at today's matchups. As we said, Velocity and Enigma, followed by AMD Army versus Orangutan. Now, to put you on the spot a bit here, Babagusta, do you want to predict a winner to both of these series?
The predictions. This is the main thing that I'm usually afraid of because we've seen how Velocity Gaming have
Yep.
made their performance. The same thing can be said to EG. It is even Stevens Kremer. So I have, if I have to make a prediction, all right, I'm just go ahead. VLT will win it out on map number one. But
You think
high
so?
likely chance, yeah. But I'm not gonna say that it would be a huge victory for VLTs, and maybe we could see a decider. So that's exactly what I'm predicting right now.
Of course, the last event that these two teams were in was the Championship Series, which
Yeah.
was at LAN in Chennai. So we sort of took a look at how map vetoes were favoring both of these teams going through that LAN. It looked like, honestly, Velocity have started really shifting Icebox into their main kind of myriad of skills, whereas they're sort of the old Velocity maps like Bind, like Haven, like Ascent were all being played, but it wasn't as good as their icebox. It sort of came out of nowhere. And for Enigma, that proved to be their Achilles heel. But where they lost on icebox, they made up for on Ascent and Haven. So going into this veto, I'm fully expecting this to be a three mapper. If there is the likes of sort of Haven Ascent left to our third map, then Enigma take it. If Velocity find a way to smuggle one of the sort of newer maps in, like Breeze, like Fracture, then that could turn this whole series on its head.
Yeah, for Team Velocity, their historic, I mean, their best map is Breeze itself. So,
Hmm.
knowing that Enigma Gaming, they know exactly which map Team Velocity have their masters on, there is high likely a chance that they might ban it out immediately and see
Hmm.
whether if they can have an even ground itself. So, let's take a look at the map vetoes and see what kind of maps we'll be able to get on the three maps. And Enigma Gaming, just like you said, Kramer, Ascent is a very strong map for them to contest. And maybe, who knows, we might be able to see that in either map number two or on, even more so, on Deciders. But all in all, I gotta say, and I do have to confess a bit, folks, I'm actually a bit nervous, but all in all, I am excited. I'm nervous, but yeah, let's just head on into the map vetoes and see the maps that we'll be able to see on all of these three maps, which will happen from both Velocity and Enigma. First map
Ooh.
will be on Bind, picked by Team Velocity Gaming, which means that EG will be going on defense. Second map, Haven. EG's map pick, VLT will be on attack. And last but not the least, the deciders will be on Ascent. This will be a crucial factor for Enigma Gaming because this is their Ascent is technically their good map pick. So, what do you think about this, Kramer?
I think EG2 won. I think Ascent being our decider has definitely helped EG there. The one thing that does sort of turn it on its head a little bit is Velocity's Haven. Sure, it's not as good as Enigma's, but it's certainly not bad. And so I think if Velocity wants to take the series, it needs to be in two bites. If it goes to a third, then Enigma take it. And I think for Enigma, that's going to give them quite a bit of comfort. Bearing in mind as well, Enigma's play style, it isn't as aggressive as the likes of Velocity, as the likes of Global. They are a bit more methodical with how they take sites. They're a bit more methodical with how they take map control. And what it means, though, is it becomes much easier to replicate. It becomes much easier to be able to do something consistently when it mitigates as much risk you take as possible, which for me is going to be a really big thing to watch out for now, as this is the start of the groups. Every other team is going to be watching these games. And so for Enigma, for Velocity, who are expecting to go quite far in the tournament, do we even see them risk revealing new strategies here?
All in all, if I have to say something about aggressive pushes, Kramer, you could say that Enable Gaming might opt out for a neon pick on map Haven, especially.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
talk about map number one. Talk
Hmm.
about map bind. There is high likely a chances that a brimstone might be brought into play because of his sky smokes, his orbital strike that can immediately restrict the entire place towards A lands. Brimstone is such a powerful agent to be brought out, especially on a map like Bind. But
Hmm.
it always comes down to the agent's pick. We need to see what kind of coordinations, what kind of roles that we might be able to see. But it is a guarantee that we will see a double sentinel pick being brought up from both Velocity and Enigma's end, but it always comes down to the counter strats. Who will succeed?
Hmm.
The first map itself, I really can't wait for that to happen.
Something I quite like from Enigma is they don't shy away from the Viper on Bind. Their last couple of games, they have been sort of experimenting a little bit, and I think Viper sort of complements their playstyle quite a bit because when you see sort of the likes of Velocity, you see players like Deathmaker who just push in and kill everyone. On Global, you see SK Rossi push in and kill everyone. For Enigma, it's planned. They commit 2-3 players to taking positions, and because of that, it means that when you have the likes of your Viper, zoning out those positions to fight for becomes that bit easier. It allows you to just compartmentalize each part of the bomb site and allows you to isolate these 1v1s.
Yeah, absolutely, Kramer. Let's see whether if Team Velocity Gaming can get to succeed winning map number 1, or will Enigma gets to steal their map pick. It's all or nothing, folks. And we are not going to waste any time at all. Let us proceed to map number 1, Velocity Gaming. It's agent select's already been picked. Again, apologies for that. Agent selects, we're going to see the amount of the agents that's been picked on Enigma Gaming's end. Sky at the hands of Antitoad. Brimstone, like I predicted it to be on a map like Bind. So Rexy will be bringing out Brim. And Right to Ace will bring in Brimstone. Now, I gotta ask a question to you, Kramer. Is Fade the most played meta in the entire history of Valorant? Do you really think that if VLT can succeed in the first half itself, especially being the ones on attack, or will Enigma Gaming can get to succeed, see whether if they can hold out their defensive sides?
Honestly, I don't think Fade is the most played meta in Valorant. I think Chamber was definitely, it really has some mileage. For me, Fade is still quite situational. Whereas Chamber had a universal presence on all maps, Fade is still limited to kind of 3 or 4 maps where we see her played effectively. On Bind, though, Fade has got some serious impact. That Nightfall mixed with an Orbital Strike can be a lethal combo. And with what's going to be a bit of an early foray over to B, Velocity wants to waste no time in showing just how good this Fade can be.
Yeah, already they're pushing in towards the B side itself. Sky Smokes is in to delay their push, but with the information that's been given from Fade, here comes the execute, and Deathmaker doing what he does best with the raise. He'll be able to get an opening for the team. Post plant is in, which means there's only 2 players left for Enigma Gaming to hold their ground. Can they succeed?
Right, our MW1 now holding this close doorway. Actually not going to be forced into a fight just yet. Enigma, they kind of collapsed on this initial fight. And so for a Fade and a Viper, yes, 2 players of Velocity are low, but they need a miracle if they want this to work. And as Right to Ace is going to be ready, and just look at the crossfires from Velocity here. Really nice setups. Deathmaker, he has the info. Doesn't need to fight off the back of that. It just forces RBK into more and more uncomfortable positions. 2 quick kills do make it look pretty strong, but MW1 is able to chime back, leaving Excali in a 1v2. Finished off by Deathmaker. And for Velocity, that'll be the pistol round swinging in their favor. Opening Bind with a bang.
Yep, they will open up their account with good economy rates from VLT's end. Spectres in hand, so does the heavy armors. You could say that there was a lot of utilities being used from the attackers, and even more so from Enigma's end too. They use their Sky Smokes to see whether if they can delay the push from the hooker's end, but turns out the satchel charges from Deathmaker is really what it brings the crucial factor to it. And now in round number 2, we'll get to see whether if Enigma Gaming can get to hold their ground. And look at that information. Excali's possession has been compromised. And look how VLT is trying to hunt down that one particular player. But he'll be safe. But here's the main problem. Do VLT have information regarding the other 2 players? And you see the players from Enigma immediately realizing that it's an A execute. They're now backing out. They're giving a lot of protection towards the A site. And now they're ready to make a push. Let's see.
First will lead the charge. There's the opening. Beautiful catch up on Excali there. RVK's able to chime back, though, with a wonderful little foray with that Sheriff. And RVK's still standing. Jazz Control's going to be in terrible position to hold. 3 kills from RVK. And Velocity have just stagnated. 3 versus 2. Right to Ace finished off and sent to hell. On the topic of hell, though, LF has got a little bit more fight in him. 1 versus 3. Low HP on the Sky means this is possible, but still, only half HP means that these Sheriffs are going to be that bit scarier. Rexy on the shoulder peak, goading, inviting LF to take a fight, but he doesn't need to. There's raw fuel to fall. Suddenly things do look a bit more manageable. Low HP on so many players here. Antidote is holding the crossfire though, baiting for Rexy, but it's not needed. Through the smoke to the top of the cranium. Enigma equalized, showing Velocity that it's maybe your map, but it's certainly not your playground.
Yeah, an impressive performance from RVK, a triple kill with the Sheriff. You could say he's the meanest man in the Wild Wild West. 1-1. And now in round number 3, you could say BLT might have a bit of problems from their economic growth. Sheriffs in hand from Velocity Gaming and Enigma Gaming choosing to opt out Vandals and Spectres. Spectres in which both Rexy and Antidote has, but the amount of utilities that they have at their disposal clearly shows that they have the entire A side on control, and RVK, he wants to go aggressive. With information being given from Fades' end, he might be able to get a kill or two, but no, they know exactly what's happening. Not a lot of contest being made from the B's end, so if they get some information regarding this execute, there is high likely a chance that a simple player might head in for the flank, but that headshot though from MW1 to give them the confirmation, take out Excali, and also they'll get the control on the A side too.
Spike will go down. Now, this isn't an unwinnable situation for Enigma. They just need a kill, and they need it quickly. As low HP on the chamber means he can be shot down by just a stray utility. This entire retake pivots on how well this flank can come through from the Brimstone. How much mileage can they get from it? Antidote is going to swing in to U-Haul at the same time. Here's the initial shot. Out goes the Hawk, and with that, the low HP player of MW1 falls. Then the flank comes in. Suddenly, this is looking pretty bloody good, Baba. It's looking very damn good. 2 versus 2 now. Rexy, he knows there's a very high chance of a flank coming in right away. Actually able to maneuver past that. Spike will be tapped once. Halfway down, there's the volley landing. Halfway down's good enough, but there's that kill. There's the follow-up. Low HP, an Antidote! He falls to the volley! Oh no! Mama! Where did that come from? He won the round!
Man, what a round though, especially from the Molly. And you do know that Brimstone has the most highest duration Sky Smoke, so using that to its advantage even more so. The incendiary, it wasn't even in the spike itself. They could have just be on a different place, but the amount of pressure that the Brimstone did was just too much for them to handle. And right to Ace, he just got his orbital strike, and now chaos will happen immediately in round number 4 itself. Amaterasu doing what he does best in gaining information from the Prowler and also from the Trailblazer from Sky. Antidote's location has been revealed, and now he's just playing this passively. Enigma, they almost had that round under control in previous round, and now desperate attempts from VLT's end. You could say that a lot of utilities has been expended on finding out one player, so this is looking good from Enigma's end. You know, you have the Viper smoke, even more so. He's holding out the entire from the A side, and they know exactly that. They're in. Post-plant will happen nonetheless, which means Amaterasu might be able to get the first opening, but no, it's been denied from Rexy. But it's too late. It can happen though. Enigma can come back with this advantage in post-plant, but they need to be fast, or else Velocity Gaming, they might have this under control.
We saw how effective Enigma can be in their retakes last round. I mean, yes, they lost to nothing, but they still were able to mitigate what was initially a 3v5. On the flank, Deathmaker shuts down Raw Fuel. That is going to remove one of the prongs of this attack here from Enigma, but it's still level playing field. 4-on-4. Remember, the orbital strike is still available. Gets used instantly. MW1, really low HP here, caught in showers. Is eventually able to get away. Elsewhere, RVK falls. There's the Viper Spit ruined as well. Down to the 2 versus 2. Rexy desperately hoping for an angle, but Deathmaker just lives up to his name and picks off one player at a time. A beautiful usage of the crossfires there with MW1 in showers, Deathmaker from short. Both of them take turns in pulling Enigma's attention and then pulling off a player one at a time. It's a death by 1,000 cuts, but it still works for them. Velocity, strong starts. There was a little hiccup in the anti-eco, but they're still in the lead, and now it's a matter of how well can they hold this.
That's their biggest concerns, though. I believe they might want to be aggressive from B-Longs itself, especially from Enigma's end. The Showstopper is present, which means the satchel charges from Deathmaker will be exponential from this execute. And Deathmaker, he will not shy away with that execute, that's for sure, but you still need to be careful on the B-Long. Here comes the Showstopper. Will that connect? Yes, it does. That's Rexy gone. Even more so, Jet at the hands of Deathmaker. Oh, they've got the control back again. And this is concerning from Enigma. They've lost a lot of rounds, although they succeeded in one post-plant. This will be even more detrimental if they lose this once more.
The Seekers are readily available for Velocity. I actually don't want to see him use it here. I think they are in a pretty good position in terms of crossfires, and Deathmaker, he's just woken up. Deathmaker has come to this game warm, and unfortunately for the entirety of Enigma, that is going to spell danger. The one man who was pretty good at keeping Deathmaker on a leash was Raw Fuel, but let's be honest, he hasn't matched Deathmaker yet, and while he does prefer to use the Operator a little bit more than Deathmaker, we still need to see some mileage soon, because Deathmaker is off to a terrific start. Velocity looking dominant, and yes, it's not been perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. What matters is it's working. Now, the main thing to look at as we go into what's going to be, I imagine, a bit of an eco from Enigma is going to be this ult management, because for Enigma, if this isn't a ult dump of, say, maybe a orbital strike, maybe even just a blade storm to help out your economy, the main thing to watch out for is how do they mitigate velocities? How do they stop Amaterasu from getting that nightfall? How do they try and feather their ultimates so that Velocity aren't able to get one of those huge leads?
Yeah, there is still a chance though, but Deathmaker, man, headshot to take out Antidote. This is even more problematic from Enigma's end. Although I could understand that this is almost an eco round. You have the heavy armor from Roffel's end. Blade Storm is in. So does the Nightfall from Excali. He could be able to make an attempt of a wombo combo from Brimstone's end too, because Orbital Strike, Nightfall, it's just, it requires that perfect timing, Kremer. And if they just miss it out on that perfect moment, you could say that Velocity Gaming has things under control. But Enigma Gaming, they're also waiting it patiently. They still don't, they might have some information regarding players appearing towards the B side, especially with that opening pick. But they want to hold their ground. They might think that maybe they might go in for a rotate, but no, instead, taking out Chamber will confirm their suspicions. VLT will not waste any time at all. B execution is in, so does the Orbital Strike to keep the players at bay. They have control now, but Enigma Gaming, they still have a lot of control at their hands, but not at all. It's back in the post plant. Enigma Gaming, can they succeed in a 4v4 equalizer?
Blade Storm is low HP, which means that you need to put a lot on this Nightfall if the Blade does commit to it. I don't know how I feel about committing this many ults to a round that, let's be honest, the buy wasn't great with. Through that smoke, a lot of bullets are going to go flying. Cali is good for the first. However, the low HP, the lack of armor is going to stack up, and you see it there from right to Ace. 3 kills, lines them up and lays them down. Halef is the one who can deliver that killing blow, and for Enigma, it feels like an overcommitment when it came to those ults there. Don't get me wrong, the Blade Storm works. The Nightfall in its own regard works, but committing all of that alongside the Orbital Strike means that you go into this buy round now against the Tour de Force with Velocity ready to get their next wave of ultimates online, and you've got nothing to respond to it outside of your own aim and positioning.
Yeah, I still have to ask a question for you, Kramer. So, knowing about the agents picks here from RVK, bringing in the Viper, you've already talked about in the map veto itself, like how powerful Enigma is when it comes to on a map like Bind, bring in the Viper. But do you think this might have been their downfall up against VLT, knowing that they're being so strong on the attack this first half? But we still need to be careful on the side itself. VLT, look at that. They're not wasting any time at all. Incendiary is a lot of utilities expended from right to Ace's end. They want to get the confirmation, and they will do exactly that. MW1, such a close encounters, but that will be its downfall. Antidote is here. He'll be able to shut us down. They don't want to give Lambs control, and this might be even more problematic. The Orbital Strike pushes Antidote in, and Halef comes back once again. He's playing very closely. RVK might be the defending factor to it. Raffle, he needs to clutch this out. He needs to give Enigma the chance that he needs to come back in the round, and this can happen. 1v1 Deathmaker. He's been so chaotic for the past 5 rounds. Can he get to succeed this one more? Tension starts to soothe the round, but it's Raffle who will win it out. Close encounters, but in the end it will be Enigma's turn to come back. 2-5. And now, Enigma, they will be happy about this, Kramer. Absolutely, they will be. And just about the question I said, will it be their downfall with them bringing the Viper's end, but will it be even much more stronger in the second half?
I honestly think that once you get to a site and you deploy a Viper's Pit, regardless of what map you're on, it's a pretty good position to be in. When you look at Vipers, their effectiveness sort of comes in their mining utilities, like their snake bites, like their smokes, and for Enigma, you do have 2 smokes now, because you've also got the Brimstone. But my main worry is outside of that, snake bites on a map like mine don't have too much impact. And I think Velocity sort of identified that pretty nicely. The main jewel I'm interested for now is, we've seen Deathmaker's awake, and in that last round, Velocity was finally able to stop him. But you're looking at the peaks MW1's taking, you're looking at the peaks that Deathmaker's taking. Right now, Velocity have such confidence, Enigma needs to find a way to break it. It's a lovely 2K from Antidote, but that only equalizes. LF's already in the back line. He's doing his job. Excali, he's having to rotate back around to Heaven. There's no sight control. And we're a good 30 seconds into the round, Baba, and it already looks like Velocity are ready to close it out.
Yeah, Raffle, man, his shots are pristine. He gets to take out FaZe. There's only 2 players left, and you could say that Enigma Gaming has their important choke points. But that op shot, he needs to make his shots count, and that's exactly what HellF needs. One more chance for Excali. He needs this clutch so bad. But look at HellF, he knows he just needs to play time, and that time will exactly give them the core that he needs. Velocity, man, 6-2. A very close round of that too, and even more so, this is even more concerning from Enigma's end, Kramer, because on the previous round, you saw 2 of the players, maybe from RVK or Excali's end, bringing in the Bulldogs, which means that from this round itself, you get to see that this round was very much punishing. They don't have enough amount of utilities to deal with in this round, so they are left with the decision on either if they have to go in for a force buy round once again, risk it, but I'm really quite not sure by risking it a force buy would be a good idea. So an entire eco round might be in play for them, and that's the reason why a timeout has been brought out from Enigma's end.
I like the fact we're seeing timeouts. What we saw in, and this is sort of a trait that a lot of APAC Valorant in general has, is a lot of teams shy away from timeouts. The reasoning being they break their own momentum, but momentum can work against you. And I'm really happy to see that Enigma have sort of identified that and gone for these early timeouts. Remember, you've got one in your second half as well, so using it early on isn't too bad a blow. The main thing to highlight for me, though, is if Deathmaker stays consistent, and I also want to mention the aggression of Velocity. This will sort of tie it in a second. Deathmaker right now is just running around killing people. But this is enabled by the likes of MW1, by the likes of LF, who are always there to support him. We saw when the Tour de Force came out on MW1, he's peaking. He's going first with the Tour de Force. He's diving through smokes with it. That is so confident. And the fact that he's able to find that confidence less than 10 rounds into the map is a worrying omen for what's going to happen to the rest of the series.
Absolutely, Kramer. I definitely have to agree on that. But for now, the only thing that Enigma needs to worry about is the aggressive plays that Deathmaker has. Because he has the showstopper, he has the satchel charges, even more so they got the opening pick too. RVK gone, no more smokes, even more so control on the lamps will be even more problematic from Enigma's end. And it's Deathmaker who's on the charge. 2-6. A lot of players has been removed out of the equation. And Excali needs to do something about it. He might be able to do it though. Deathmaker's down, so does the important information gained from Fade. Nightfall is in, so does the pressure at the hands of Velocity. Can they get to hold their ground? Helef is already in. He gets to succeed taking out Raw Fuel.
One enemy
Chance is still present, but it gets denied at Amaterasu. 7 wins. This is concerning in the first half, and highly clear chances for a 9-3 end out.
You're right, and the other thing to mention is this aggression is followed up by how quick Velocity can get into these crossfires. Every kill that came through from Enigma there was another player in another position to trade it, and it means retaking against them becomes so difficult, and that comes with how fast Velocity are playing this. They know that they have confidence right now. They know that they have momentum, and they're not taking their foot off the gas. And this is where it's at times like this we start seeing really one-sided games. I've not lost faith in Enigma yet. I think that once Raw Fuel wakes up, we can have a game on our hands. But when HLF is just decimating pushes from Enigma there, you really got to worry a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, this is more concerning though from Enigma's end. That heavy push that they made from B long, that commitment wasn't a good idea. And look at that, Deathmaker. Showstopper didn't work out, nor does the succession on his gunfight. RVK gets to get one, but instant trade out will come in. And this is not looking good from Enigma's end. Back on a 2v4 disadvantageous situation. And I believe they're left with the decision to save their weapons, and I believe they could. There is still 2 rounds left, and VLT knows this.
Watching here.
And you could say that Raw Fuel, he will save the op nonetheless. It's a 1v4, it's a gone case from the B side. Not a lot of utilities can be expended from Raw Fuel's end. Although getting that 1 kill might give him the confirmation to get his Blade Storms. But you could say this would end up on a 2-8. And MW1, he hears the foot. He gets the shot, he'll fall back, Blade Storm is in. And now, Enigma, you've got to find out a way, man. This is not looking good in the first half.
You're right, and it's recoverable. There's still a chance. I think so long as Enigma get 3 rounds, they have a chance. Granted, trying to get those 3 rounds is still a predicament for them, but it's manageable. It's manageable. And so long as there's hope, Enigma is still dangerous. Bear in mind, you look at the ult management as well. With a Viper's Pit, with Raw Fuel looking to go a little bit aggressive with this operator, maybe the change of pace catches Velocity off guard here. Bearing in mind, they're not lurking all too much. You see here, they're just committing every single player to this initial B take. This could be slowed, then they could be in such a strong position to be outflanked potentially by Enigma here. But no plan survives contact with the enemy. And for Velocity, you know what the solution to smokes is, Baba? They just go straight through it.
Absolutely no wasting time at all. VLT, they want to get this round done. And the sheer amount of aggressiveness that they've proceeded in towards the B sides clearly shows that Enigma doesn't have control on it. So many rounds have they been on post-plant situations, but this time they have some necessary equipments. Oh boy, LF. There was an attempt with the flank from RVK's end. Well, that's gone. And now it's just 3 players left. Jet, I believe from Raw Fuel's end, he will use the tunnels to see whether if he can get an entire clearance from the hooker side. But you still need to be careful from the Seekers. NW1 clearing out Excali. This is looking even much more dangerous from Enigma's end. And another save could come in from Raw Fuel's end. Yeah, I believe so. He will get the kill nonetheless from Helef, but all in all, this will be a 2-9. Back in favor for Team Velocity Gaming. They are looking very powerful in the first half. And Raw Fuel, although he needs to survive all by himself. Beautiful shot of that too from the third. Amaterasu will go down. And also, it's not a lot of problems from VLT's end, right? Although, 3 kills were at the ends from Raw Fuel's end. The eco is the one that you should be worried about. And VLT, they've got things under control in the first half, but in the second half, that's exactly what that I have to take care of, right, Kramer?
For me, the biggest issue is that Velocity, right now, they're getting kills, they're not being punished for it. They're pushing, they're not being punished, and Enigma are just giving them too much ground. We see that, I mean, even in these executions, well, they got hookah control, they got short control, uncontested. There was only a smoke to stop them, and it was because Enigma just don't have the money. They were just pummeled start to finish there. A hell of a performance from Velocity and a dominant way to start your series. Remember, though, this is Velocity's map pick. They are on their home territory, so Enigma can take that with a pinch of salt, hoping that maybe they can kind of take it to a third map where they'll have the advantage. But the reality is, when you're doing this well, when you're this good, this consistently, that skill will transfer between maps. And so for Enigma, the latter stage of this map and the start of our second map, I believe, of Haven, is going to have to rely entirely on breaking Velocity's momentum and in sort of making Deathmaker feel a little bit less confident, making MW1 feel a little bit more shy about peeking, and just trying to find a way to give themselves more space to breathe.
Yeah, I totally have to agree on that, Kramer. Map number 1, although this is VLT spec, there is still a chance for them to come back on map number 2 as well as Deciders, though. And that Decider itself clearly shows I believe the map being on Ascent, if I get the information right. Yeah, Decider is on map Ascent. EG will go on defense. So there is high likely a chance that EG can come back on map number 2 and Deciders. But when you see Deathmaker making those incredible plays like that in the first half, you really got to wonder, Is there really a chance where VLT can even win map number 2, especially showing how dominant they are on attack in the first map? And the utility usage, VLT just saving at the right moments. You even saw Deathmaker had Showstopper for more like 2 to 3 rounds, but he didn't commit to it. Mainly because Deathmaker understood that there are some rounds where on eco rounds, and it's best to not use it. It's only efficient whenever there is a chance like a full buy round. That's exactly where you see Deathmaker use their important utilities. Not only just Deathmaker, VLT just carefully use their ultimates at the right time, especially on the full buy rounds. They only get to use it if things went wrong. They always have a backup. And Enigma, although I can understand the aggressive push that they made from B long, that immediately that didn't work out too much for them now, did they? There is still a chance on second half, though. The immediate, the resets that Enigma can come back on attack. But it always comes down to the eco rounds, right, Kremer? If they succeed on map number 2, if they win out both the eco rounds as well as the second round, and putting themselves on a bonus round would put Enigma on a really great spot on the second half. But other than that, you could say that VLT is dominating on map number 1 in the first half, that is. And yeah, there's not a lot of that I can say, but you could say that it could end up on a 9-3.
Life and Curse may be the saving grace for Enigma here. The one thing I want to highlight in what you said there was how Deathmaker's playing. He's not doing anything particularly flashy. He's just being consistent. He's just taking angels and just killing people. It's not like he's kind of doing these massive 180 spray transfers. He's just killing people. And when someone is doing that well, counteracting it can become very difficult, because if you're not beating them in aim, you have to beat them in utility. But right now, Velocity have got so much momentum, Enigma haven't had a chance to actually bring out any of their utility yet.
Yeah, that's the most concerning thing about Enigma. Most of the utilities that's been expended, it was done on post plant. There was a lot of flank attempts, which was made only once from RVK's end. Again, apologies. Most of it didn't work out too well in their favor. And now, if I have to talk about the dual wins that's been happening from VLT's and Enigma's end, VLT is winning by a long shot. Early peak advantage for more than 3 to 4 rounds, it was at the hands of Deathmaker. Even more so, he's on the top of the leaderboards, having 16 kills in the first half itself. And Raw Fuel, the op shots working perfectly well if he has the upper hand when it comes to gaining the angle. When he repositions back, there is high likely a chance that they would immediately push back, because that's exactly what that's the main weakness from the op plays that you can get from your end, right? Even though if you have a reposition ability like the dash from Jetta's end, you could see that Raw Fuel gets cut out on most of its situations. And the only round that we did get to see Enigma win was, I believe it was 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, round number 7. Round number 7 was where Raw Fuel gets to succeed in his 1v1 clutch, right? That was crucial. Yeah. That was what Enigma needed to come back and ensure that they could at least have a tough fight, a fair fight when it comes to economic growth. But suddenly, VLT decides to continue the aggression. They decides to keep pressuring them into the A side, and next thing you know, they got things under control. 2-9. 2-9 is a round where it's more problematic from the attacker's end. From Enigma's end, because they need to come back. They need to win it out on second half and see whether they can find another solution on VLT's problem. Imagine if VLT does the same thing on the second half. Imagine if they're being very much more aggressive on the defensive rounds. That will be more concerning from Enigma's end, because it clearly shows that Enigma still doesn't have a solution to the aggressiveness that VLT is showing as of now.
You're right, and I believe we are in a tech pause. I believe that's why I think that's why we're on camera. So yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to remedy that as quick as possible. I understand that you guys want to see the game. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. The one thing I do ask is to not spam the chat. My mum bought me this laptop, and it gets really hot when the chat's being spammed. Now my leg's starting to hurt, so it's getting really hot. So please just stop that. It'd be wonderful if you could. But in just a second, we'll be able to get back into this. For now, though, we are just waiting to see if we can remedy these tech issues. Hopefully, when it's on LAN, that won't happen. Touch wood. But you've all got that to look forward to in the future. Hopefully, I'll be there as well if the UK Visa Office decides that I'm worthy. We'll see.
To be honest, Kramer, I will be excited if you come to Bengaluru. It will be a blast. That is for
I
sure.
hope so, man.
That's
hope so.
exactly why we have the group stages, right? I mean, this itself, the fight that these teams had to go through. We already have our 8 teams, and the pressure about it is that we have 4 lucky spots. Just by looking at 4 lucky spots, you get to realize even though you've been qualified from first and second quals, you still have like there is a lot of young talents who are still in the scene right now. Knowing that you have to go up against the best of the best in the SE region and talk about the example being displayed in the first match itself clearly shows that there is a lot of competition happening in the SA region, and I seriously cannot wait to see what chaos starts to unfold in the tournament itself, which will happen on the LAN, of course. And like again, a bit of information regarding the match itself. We've got the confirmation, folks, which means that we are back. Technical pause has come to an end, which means the show will resume on a 9-2 last round on the first half. Let's see if Enigma Gaming can secure this round.
But someone identified really quickly that we were running out of things to say. Come on, man. We were trying. Enigma. Remember, Rawfuel was able to save that operator, so there is still that sort of X factor to watch out for here. But up against the Tour de Force, MW1 certainly has a slight advantage here. We'll have to see what comes from this though, with an early opening, and just the utility does all the work.
Does even more so. Deathmaker once again, an opening pick. This is more dangerous, especially in the last round. A lot of utilities being expended. Of course, it's the last round. And MW1, always precise with his shots. Here comes the orbital strike. This will at least help them on repositionings. And Rawfuel, no, he cannot. A beautiful flick from MW1 to shut him down like that. There you go. At the end of the first half, it is 10-2. Boy, oh boy, does this match gets even much more steamy. You even got to see that in the cams too, right, Kremer? I am sweating so much.
I was told that well, in the UK we hit I think 25 degrees, and I was dying. And I then found out how hot it is in India, and that's going to be a fun experience.
I believe right now it's the rainy seasons, Kremer, especially in India. So the main reason why it gives you a cool vibe to it, and there are some certain places in India where you get to have those monsoon feelings, and I've got to say, India is an amazing place. There are so many historical places that you could get to go through, and even more so, knowing that there's a lot of chance which would happen in Bangalore itself. That's just absolutely amazing.
Wait, you said it was cool. I just checked the temperature. It's 26, man.
Yeah, the main reason why I'm hot right now, Kremer, is that I've closed every single doors in my room. So I'm technically I'm in my own hot box.
Yeah, wow. That's brave. That's very brave.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to annoy the neighbors a lot. That's why I just had to close the entire doors.
Honestly, when I cast, my neighbors listen to it as well. I think it's part of the experience. But now, though, as we end this final round of the half, I'm really putting some pressure now onto Enigma. They need at least 3 rounds. If this ends 11-2, Velocity have won it. In order to kind of win it puts so much pressure on your pistol round that even if you win it, but it's come down to a 1v1, that in itself may not be enough. Enigma needs to be dominant from the pistol round onwards if they lose this round here, and to sort of ask for such a 180 in momentum, it seems like quite a tall order.
Bring them down.
MW1 though, oh boy, an attempt of a close range combat, but since he has the rendezvous, he shouldn't have much of a problem though. The main problem has to be Enigma Gaming doing what they does best in their execute, and turns out it's RVK's turn to make his play. Oh boy, close range of that too from Brexy. Antidote is back again. And what just happened in this post plant? 2v5, and somehow Enigma, they're just looking very strong.
Last
Looking
player
to make his
standing.
foray out. Spots out the fade. Can't quite get the kill, though. Tries to run away. It's Deathmaker in a 1v5, and I mean, he's good, but I don't know if he's 1v5 good. Finished off by Excali, and for Enigma, hey, that was that pistol round. That pressure suddenly eases off a little bit. 5 players left alive as well. It's just as dominant as it gets. This could be the start of something better.
It can be, Kramer. It can be. This might be a start of Enigma's comeback in second half. That's just waiting to happen. Still gotta understand, this is map bind. The main thing that you need to worry about is how would you, conserve your utilities well and see whether if they could do the same thing in the next round too. It's the same execute that they've been doing in the previous round. Information's being given around from Chambers' end. NW1 knows exactly what's happening. And now they're just gonna let Enigma gain control on A side. Which means that Velocity will just play it nice and slow. 3 members on the flank, 2 members holding their ground. This might be a start of something special if Enigma reads this.
Enigma have got a pretty good read on there being a flank. I don't think they understand the extent of it just yet, though. Excali is going to spot out the first player. He knows there's one on the flank, and for Antidote, that may actually just cue him into the others. Did he see Deathmaker, though? I think he did. That Hawk's going to confirm it, swings out. And this little Julie has a Deathmaker. Antidote doesn't have to win this. He just needs to buy time. You look elsewhere, the entirety of Velocity just break like waves on rocks here. And Enigma, they're not going to be eroded anytime soon. Really, really strong afterplant there, and I love that from the Sky to just for Antidote just doesn't risk taking the fight. Just uses his Hawks, buys time, waits for the rest of his team to do the legwork when it comes to damage, so he can then chime in at the end. Really smart bit of decision making. And for Velocity now, they move to their full buy, looking to they move their full eco, sorry, looking to potentially make Enigma sweat a bit here. But it's been a solid start.
Solid start. That's for sure. For Enigma, though, they still need to be careful. MW1! What is that? 3 kills! You should have been careful on the corners, Enigma, and look what happened. The consequences that you guys need to face will be even more deadlier. They still have a chance, though. 3v2.
Bring them down.
The main problem is in itself the control on the A side. And look at how VLT has been playing. So close, information not yet given, and Excali looking so strong. 2 kills, which means Antidote has to clutch. Actually, it was Hellef who needs to clutch, but unfortunately, that won't happen. What a round from Enigma. They had to adapt. They had to come back on a very dangerous early pick that MW1 had made.
What's even around. You say what around. I'm not giving that to Enigma. They should be checking their corners. That is a rookie mistake to give MW1 that much space there.
Yeah, man. MW1 for a moment there, that was unexpected. Being traded out on a 3-1 was way much more problematic from Enigma's end. But coming back like that really shows that Enigma has things under control. And look at Raw Fuel. Beautiful shot as ever. Seekers are in. Aggressive push from right to Ace. Good shot of that too. Seekers will be denied. And now the aggressiveness plays needs to be contained. Post run is in, which means that they have information regarding this. Even more so, they've committed for the Viper's Pit. Deadly round at that. Enigma wants this round on board to ensure that Velocity Gaming wouldn't have any control on their economic growth. And this would be even much more painful. Yeah.
No charges left.
Raw Fuel. Hopefully see those with Jaws. I mean, he's seen the second one as well, I believe. So for Deathmaker, a 1v4. I mean, hey, it's easier than the pistol round is, but with a flank already coming from Excali, there's a world here where Deathmaker's objective becomes hold on to the weapon, because the money won't be great on Velocity, and when the game gets a bit closer, every penny is going to matter so damn much. But RVK's there to finish the job. Enigma, really nice spot of kind of on the fly thinking there. They realize the flank is coming, so they instantly commit to the rotation through to CT, where they're going to go get that plant, committing the Viper's Pit as well. And it means you don't need to use your Nightfall, you don't need to use your Seekers either, because you can just hug the walls of that pit, and you can force Velocity to move into your crosshairs. Really, really smart flying call from Enigma there. And now with only 4 rounds in it, I'm kind of glad I didn't give up hope on them, Baba, because Enigma coming back into this.
Absolutely.
Bring them down.
And the way how they're playing right now, I kind of feel like Enigma is trying to go in for a PEX. MW1 needs to be careful for that snake bite. His armor though almost gone. Crawler will be there, so does the confirmation on the kill. Raw fuel! Man! This guy's unstoppable on attack. And he wants more. They just need the information, and I believe Trailblazer will give them exactly that. LF denies, and here comes the pain. Pushes in, and so does Raw Fuel. His energy is unstoppable.
Spike down.
So 1v3, right to Ace. He's made a decision to hold his ground. I believe Seekers will give the information regarding the final player. 1v3. Will we see right to Ace make a commitment for this clutch? Or will we get to see him save the weapon for now?
Right away, Snao is in a difficult position because you want to go for exits. You want to at least make it costly for Enigma, but you just can't. He's got, what, 500 quid in the bank? That's nothing in the grand scheme of things, Baba. And for Enigma, it's going to be another tick into the lead. It's going to be another round going their way. And for Velocity, they were good when they had Velocity. They were very good when they had momentum. But Enigma, now that they've stopped it, suddenly Velocity need to change their game plan. And for me, I think one of the big things that Enigma were able to sort of wield against Velocity in the previous 3 matchups we've seen is because Enigma can change mid-round. They can change mid-game. Velocity, they need a bit more time to adapt.
Yeah, I believe a timeout would come in as well from Velocity's end. You could say in the second half, Enigma Gaming did figure out the formula for initial velocity. It's a science joke, but yeah, although if I figured out what the formula was, maybe I would have passed in that exams. It's just flashbacks from my end, Kramer. Don't mind me about that. But 7-10, you could say that Team Velocity is having a lot of issues on the defensive hold, and that's the reason why a timeout has been requested. You need to know what's going on. And when it comes to economy, it's definitely not looking too good from their end. Only a Phantom which was saved from right to Ace's end in the previous round. And now, it has just come down to this. Will we see VLT come back in this disadvantageous situation, especially on the anti-eco round, which they might do it though. Could say that if they figure out a way to take out Raw Fuel, especially on that early pick, maybe it could work out. But the way how Deathmaker has been silent in the second half clearly shows that Velocity, it's on defense itself, it's just looking not good from their end.
You're absolutely right. The one thing that I think does go in favor of Velocity is you've got Deathmaker, you've got MW1, 2 very apt sort of aggressors, and they're one of the few players who don't shy away from going aggressive on your defense, as demonstrated by Deathmaker. Thank you for that.
Ooh.
And he doubles down as well. Suddenly Enigma has turned on their head. They do have flankers to sort of flank everyone here, with Raw Fuel going back through from short, but Deathmaker, he's read it! This is such a strong round from Deathmaker now, and Raw Fuel, the smoke misses. You can't push off the back of that, and you look at the positioning of the rest of Enigma, because they lost their players so quickly, they don't know where these attacks could come from. They don't know where the remaining Velocity members are, which means Raw Fuel has to spearhead this entire retake of this spike. Velocity, off the back of just 2 kills, may have won the round here.
Just when I talked about Deathmaker being silent on the second half, he just does that. With the showstopper at that too. And now Enigma, they're in a very dicey situation. They have to recover back the spike. Even more so, Velocity even knows exactly where the spike is. And they've already huddled up, and right to Ace exactly knows what's happening. Crossfire angles has been placed. It's just RBK left. And he will be cornered nonetheless. Even have the Sky Hellf who's just patiently waiting, and there you go. This is crucial. This is exactly what VLT needs to succeed. And that one important play that Deathmaker had done, that will just give them a huge morale boost. Frenzy kill, although Showstopper didn't get the clarification on the kill itself, but a 2 kill from a single magazine from Frenzy, I mean, what was that?
Just a nasty pick off there from Deathmaker. And for Velocity, that's the nice thing of having such a lead. When you're 10-2 ahead, you only need 1 or 2 lucky rounds and you're just up skipping a jump away from winning. Thanks to that Enigma, they now need to recover, and they need to recover with what has been about a 30-second leeway, which is really going to weigh quite heavy on their psyche here, as Rawfuel goes for an aggressive play of his own, but right away, he's expecting it, just shuts him down. Yes, it's a trade by Antidote, but you don't want to be trading, you want to be garnering the leads here if you're Enigma.
The fight is still on. But look where MW1 is playing right now. It's very long. He might be able to take out Brimstone at the right moment. He sees it. Oh boy, such a close encounters. They know that there is an AWPer playing right from B long. And with that trap, this will be even much more concerning. That push being made from Hookah clearly gives the info that MW1 needs. The execute is in from B. He's the only player who's holding the site. And now they're just waiting. Info, MW1 is safe for now. Patience as Enigma. Pushing this very carefully. They're just trying to get very lightly. And missing that shot will give them even much more problem for them to deal with. Post plant, showstopper, not the showstopper, Deathmaker is all the way back from the flank. He might get to pick out RVK off by surprise. That lineup, removing that lineup would be so huge from VLT's end. But he's just playing it very closely. Look at that timing.
This could be perfect. Amsterdam is able to get out. There's that additional kill from Rexy, but Deathmaker doesn't realize the Viper's nearby. With his teammate falling, RVK just turns 180. And for Enigma, it's a very swift cleanup, but I can't help but think that there may have been a bit of luck on their side there. RVK, if he'd been caught out, there would have been no counteraction to Deathmaker's push through long, and it would have meant that NW1 had a little bit more space on Yuval. So they're definitely easement of luck to join them. But for Enigma, just 3 rounds away from equalizing with Velocity, 4 rounds away from securing at least overtime, and then 5 from a victory. Honestly, I can't help but think that for Enigma, this is by all means a fair game, particularly when you look at the fact that Velocity, yes, they have a bye this round, but their money's not great.
They're not looking too great too. MW1, orbital strike. He's not going to use it just now. Patience as it is. Information, patience. It's not a lot that he could say. It always depends on Rawfuel's end. He's gonna miss that. The trade will come back nonetheless from Rexy's end, but Deathmaker is still alive, which means there's a lot of chaos which will happen from the B side. Post plant it is back again, and this time it's Velocity's turns to be even much more careful. Here comes RBK. The lurk, the nightfall, the patience that VLT had. They've got things under control. What can RBK do here? Yeah.
It's such a difficult position because he's given his audio cue. Velocity know all they have to do is just plant for defender spawn here. And push comes to shove for RVK. Even if he gets that spike and he's able to head back to A, there's already a Viper's wall in place to sort of help him. But what is there for the afterplant? With only 1 snake bite, you still need to peek players. You still need to fight players. And that is really going to be a big difference maker here. The smoke is going to buy a bit of space, but there's the volley, there's the utility from the fade. It's almost irretrievable at this point.
Yeah, as the time ticks down to 10 seconds, you need to make a push, and with that crossfire angle, it will be Deathmaker who will succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, they are on match point.
Honestly, even if Velocity win this, I'm sticking by my prediction of Enigma 2-1. I think that if it was a stomp, and if they were able to convert that sort of 10-2 half lead, I'd have said, okay, Velocity are probably going to win this. But the fact that Enigma were given space on their attack to level the playing field, and they were able to sort of start flexing their muscles a little bit, I think that Enigma very well can come back into this. Not just this map, but this series. And while the map, certainly there isn't much time left, it's the series you've got to keep an eye on.
Man, look at how VLT has been pushing all the way from B long. They've made a commitment towards that A lobby. And look what it gave. it just gave an opening for Velocity. They, even much more so, they have the showstopper too at the hands of Deathmaker. And now, they've lost a lot of ground. They don't have any information regarding the flank sides of A. And they need to make a commitment. Even more so, Rexy doesn't even have the Incendiary to go in for a lineup too, so they need to have an attempt. Good shot, a headshot to take out Amaterasu. And now there is still a chance for Enigma to come back. Raw fuel. What a beautiful shot. And he succeeds in Deathmaker. Yes, he does. That's exactly what they needed. Orbital's trying to see whether if they can fend out the attackers or two, but it's not more than enough. Helef. Unfortunately, he had to fall back. He needs to save his weapon. But all in all, it's still the danger still lurks around from Enigma's end, because if they make a single mistake, Velocity Gaming can claim map number 1. Look at that, they're just trying to hunt him down as best as possible. Can though. Will we see Helef get picked out? I'm really quite not sure that will happen though. Information is here. Yep, there you go. 9-12. Match point is still in for Velocity Gaming and Enigma. It's just, man, the amount of struggles that they have to go through. They have to win all 4 rounds without making a single mistake.
It's doable. It's doable. I still believe. Don't get me wrong. Velocity are in a pretty strong position here. The one thing I want to highlight, though, the Buddy ain't in a strong position. They are going to have to sort of hand this over with a couple of sheriffs. But let's be honest, remember, we're in SA. Sheriff rounds seem to be more successful than rifle rounds sometimes. Deathmaker, fortunately, won't be able to get too much mileage from the showstopper. And actually in danger of being outflanked here.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's Bessie. Oh, RVK! Oh, no! Enigma now, a man down. Low HP on Deathmaker, sure, but they've handed over. They've handed over that Vandal. And now for Deathmaker, he's going to prove just existing in the backline. Sometimes the threat of you being there is scarier than you actually fighting them. And for Deathmaker, he's forcing the entirety of Enigma to clear their own spawn. They can't even do that. Excali falls Deathmaker. Sure, he had a hell of a start to this map. Yes, he quietened down a little bit over in the second half, but if he ends it on a bang as well, then Enigma really have to reconsider how they duel Deathmaker going into Haven.
It's just patience as raw fuel. It's all his hopes. Oh man, even the frenzy. At a 1v4, Rexy, he's just been cornered from both the plays. It's all by himself versus the rest of the players from Velocity. He will get one, but the trade-out will happen nonetheless. And there you have it, folks. Team Velocity Gaming will succeed. Map number 1. It will be theirs. And what a way to start off on the group stages.
What a way to start off, indeed. They looked absolutely immortal there on that first half. Credit where credit's due to Enigma. They did mount quite a convincing comeback, and their attack looked bloody good. However, it just wasn't quite enough to close it out. They just had too much damage done in their first half. And actually it kind of brings me back to the championship series, where Enigma, they were a one-half team. They had dominating halves where they just decimate their opponents, and then the second half, regardless of what side they start on, the second half was just a try and close out the map, which usually meant we ended up with a lot of overtime games where Enigma was playing.
Yeah, there were a lot of openings from Enigma's end, especially the risky push that they made from B long, even with the smoke which was being placed from VLT's end. Not quite sure that making a commitment like that would work out from an Enigma's end, but you've got to give appreciation from a Deathmaker though, because how did the Rays get away like that? Showstopper was there. Showstopper didn't dealt a lot of damage. His position was compromised, and somehow he gets away with 3 kills, defending all by himself from the A side. That is Deathmaker for you, folks. And as we take a look at the highlights itself, man, what a way to start it off, especially from Velocity Gaming's end. First half was looking so powerful, especially from Deathmaker, who was on point with the satchel charges, the showstoppers, the consistency that they had on ensuring that they would use the utilities at the perfect rounds. And Enigma Gaming, they did fell a bit apart from the first half, but they eventually did came back up on the second half itself, knowing that they have Viper on the block, the smokes which could block a lot of line of sights, which really did help a lot from the attacker's end. But you still need to be careful that Velocity Gaming really did adapt to the situation. They won a lot of thrifty rounds, which was very crucial for them to succeed. And even more so, who else to thank? But maybe who else to thank but for Deathmaker himself, right?
Yeah, I love how Velocity on their defense don't shy away from going aggressive. And that was the one thing Enigma didn't do. When Enigma were on their defense, it was a very passive defense, which meant that they were punished a lot by Velocity. Whereas Velocity, they constantly make Enigma fight for every inch of ground they take. It means that even if they're dueling evenly, even if they're trading one another, by the time Enigma actually get to these bomb sites, they're so low on HP that it becomes very easy to go for these kind of broad multi-kills that we see. I mean, even HLF had a pretty good game as well when it came to getting those big rounds.
Although I still have to appreciate Raw Fuel's end. The first half, the op shots were so pristine, but he didn't make a lot of impactful rounds on the defensive round, did he? He did make a lot of powerful plays in the second half, where the executions were looking good. Raw Fuel was the one who was doing all the initiation rooms. It was just on point. But suddenly, when it comes to a surprise attack that Deathmaker has shown, it clearly says that the challenges that we've seen from Velocity and Enigma's end, Deathmaker, he's always unpredictable, right? And when it comes to being unpredictable, it is difficult for Enigma to see whether if they can, whether if they can get a round win or not, because there were so many rounds where Enigma Gaming got caught off guard. And although Raw Fuel did his fair share of best efforts to see whether if he can get an opening, see if none of the flanks would be successful from Velocity's end, it just didn't work out too well from his end, though. 13-9 bind as we take a look at the stats itself. Deathmaker on top of the leaderboards, 29 kills. And it's Raw Fuel with 21. Man, what an amazing map. But we still have a lot of more to go, Kramer. We still have map number 2, which will happen on Map Haven. So I'm excited to see what Enigma has in stores.
You're absolutely right. And for Deathmaker, it goes without saying, doesn't it? He had an incredible game, as did Raw Fuel. But for me, Raw Fuel, while I don't think he had a particularly good game, he was just consistent. And Real Fuel is one of the more consistent duelists, for me at least, in this tournament. So that's good and all that, but I really want to see him step it up and try and take it to the next level to shut down Deathmaker. Of course, that is all to see over in Haven, which will be our next map. But before we bring you Haven, we're going to go to a quick little break. We'll be back shortly. Oh, we're not going to a break. We're on a bit longer. We're on a bit longer about that. We can't run away just yet. We've been kept to.
Yep. Technically, we can just run away now, can we? I mean, it's map number 1. When it comes to
nothing they can do to stop us.
There's nothing that can stop us. I mean, imagine if we do run. How would we run? Would you do it like the Sharingan way of running, or is it like the normal way? Which run would you prefer? Would you prefer the Jim Carrey running, or just the normal runs like most of the people usually do?
I hadn't thought that far into it, to be honest. I was going to take my headset off and walk off, but that would also granted, as funny as that would be, our producer would have a heart attack. So I'm sorry, Sean, I would never do that to you. Of course, they get ready to move into Haven. I'm going to stick with my prediction. I think Enigma will probably take Haven. Do you think Enigma as well, or are you leaning more towards Velocity?
You could say I still have hopes for Enigma Gaming, just like you said on Map Haven. I could think that a neon pick might happen from Enigma's end, because I still remember the amount of strategies that have gone through from Haven's side, especially when the execute happens from the A side. You always have neon pressuring a lot. And since Enigma loves being aggressive most of the time, we didn't see a lot of presence of the aggression which is shown on the first map itself, because they were on defense. I can agree that. But I'm guessing they will switch up their gears and see whether if they want to be aggressive a lot, because BLT, they're on attack, which means that on map number 2, we will see EG going on defense once again. So they will be playing a bit more of like a passive hold, maybe a double sentinel, even more so. The site itself on Haven should have much of a problem. But for now, folks, like we said, we've got the confirmation, which means that we are going off for a break, and we will be right back in map number 2. Until then, grab some popcorns, grab some H2O. We'll be right back.
From the legends of memory and storage, Crucial brings you the ultimate performance in gaming. Legendary products, precision engineered for speed and stability. Crucial Ballistics. legends of memory and storage. Crucial brings you the ultimate performance in gaming. Legendary products. Precision engineered. For speed and stability. Crucial ballistics.
Welcome back. AMD Ryzen and Windows 11 presents the Esports Club Challenger Series, powered by Crucial and our broadcast partner over on Loco. And tell you what, Loco had a hell of a game to broadcast, as in Map 1, Velocity were able to take, after a very dominant first half, a victory against Enigma, 13-9. I know what you're thinking, after a dominant first half, how come the game was so close? Well, that'll be because of the second half. Enigma suddenly woke up and they were able to deliver the power. However, it was not enough to make up for their shortcomings in that first half. We now move to their map pick of Haven, where they're going to look to potentially recover what was a little bit of a disappointing start for Velocity. It's going to be a matter of trying to ride that high and trying to keep away from Ascent, because as we said in our pre-game, we go to Ascent, Enigma are going to be very bloody happy indeed. Of course, I can't talk you through this alone. I'm your caster Crabber 3. I'm joined by the amazing Berber. Having seen map 1, how are you feeling about Haven?
Haven, there's a lot of chances, Kramer. At this point, I even said that this would go all the way from the deciders, and since you told me which team which would win the match itself, I said Velocity Gaming. So I'm still gonna stick with that. I'm not gonna change anything as of now. But talk about Enigma Gaming being on map Haven. You could say that there is high likely a chance that they could succeed, unless and until Velocity has something else to do on map number 2 itself. But this is EG spec. They are very confident, and it's excited to see what kind of plays do we get to see from Enigma's end. Even more so, if we see Enigma succeed map number 2, higher chances on Ascent will be in the favor for Enigma Gaming. So all eyes on this map. And Team
You're
EG,
right.
yeah.
Something
Even
you
Team
mentioned.
EG. Yeah, go ahead, Kramer, go ahead.
So something you mentioned was that you wanted to see the neon come out from Enigma on Haven, and I think that's kind of interesting because, all things considered, Enigma have never touched neon on Haven, just ever. It's Velocity who bring out the neon, and having seen Velocity's Fracture, the MW1 on neon is a bloody scary opponent to go up against. So when mixed with the KO as well, they have a kind of unorthodox composition when it comes to Haven, but one that really, really works. When you have the neon, the KO, and the Sky, you have a lot of flashes and a lot of avenues of aggression, which means that Velocity, the sort of defenders sided aggression, which is something that Enigma just don't really touch. Velocity are really going to have an advantage when they do that same methodology and that same stratagem over on Haven. For Enigma, they have been leaning towards the Killjoy a little bit more, sort of going for the Killjoy fade. It's a little bit more defensive, but it does make your retakes a little bit stronger. So we're going to see how the sort of Duel of Fates pans out.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that too, Kramer. And yeah, even I have to agree on that. We haven't seen EG bring Neon a lot, and I'm pretty much sure that they will not bring Neon on this on the second map itself, because VLT is on attack first. So you might be able to see Neon being brought up from the hands of Team Velocity Gaming. But all in all, it always comes down to the agent spec. So we have to see what kind of which kind of agents do we get to see from Velocity's end, and also from Enigma, because. It is the first day it is the first day of the group stages. So the amount of confidence you can see from Velocity's ends is skyrocketed through the roof, especially winning map number 1. 13-9, Deathmaker was insane with the raise. But can we get to see what will happen? Can we get to see the same thing which will happen on map number 2 too? Haven will be the map as we take a look at the agent's pick itself.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's default as ever, just what we were expecting, but I'm a big fan of Neon. I'm a really big fan of Neon, brother. At the moment, Neon for me is the best agent to watch. They're the most entertaining to watch. So MW1 getting those caster brownie points. I'm still sticking to my 2-1 EG prediction though. but I'm gonna be a bit happier with with Neon's MW1's Neon at least.
Yeah, very much excited for VLT, especially MW1 bringing the Neon. And oh boy, will it be a tough competition from Enigma's end. They just lost map number 1. Can they bring it back and put us to deciders? We're about to find it out with the first round itself. Pistol rounds. And just like you predicted, Kremer, we will see Killjoy being brought up from Enigma's end. It always comes down to it accordingly. Playing for picks as of now. EG's taking it nice and slow. Actually, not the EG. Velocity Gaming's taking it nice and slow. So you could say that all tensions at the hands of it.
Take this! Gotta go!
Velocity looks like they wanted to go for a bit of control in C. Kind of changed their mind here, and that's the aggression of the Neon. You're able to get into a position very quickly. Unfortunately, it means that teammates aren't there to assist you. With an instant shutdown from Antidote, Velocity now seem to turn their attention. They've swung all the way around the map, and they're ending their pilgrimage by setting their gaze to A, where they're going to have to ascertain Sewer's control away from Raw Fuel, who, while he didn't have a lights-out map over on Vine, still played well. And he's going to double down now. There's RVK for the first. Raw Fuel chimes in, and I mean, hey, Raw Fuel, when there's players to kill, he'll definitely kill them. Rexy on the flank as well is going to spot out the chamber. Deathmaker is good for 1, but that Headhunter with only 3 bullets in means that Enigma are going to have to share.
There you go, a second and a third from Deathmaker. He's still alive.
30 seconds left.
He's still kicking. He'll find 2 more, but it won't happen. RBK shuts him down. And with it, we will see Enigma open up their account on their pistol round.
You're right, and it's the Enigma we wanted to see. Dominant from the start, really, really strong defense, and for Enigma, it was... They've sort of got the reputation of being a one-half team, right? All I want to see from them is consistency. How much does a man have to ask to get some consistency? And I mean, Deathmaker, he definitely makes them bleed towards the end of that pistol round, meaning he is definitely amping up to have quite a good game as well. But if Enigma can shut him down, Velocity could be in trouble.
Yeah, that's the biggest concern that Enigma needs to be careful about. And look at that. There's currently been some utilities or a contest being made from the B side, and Antidote will easily give that information nonetheless. He's still alive, still kicking, gets 1, and somehow still gets to be alive.
Planted.
A huge advantageous positioning from his end, and look at the utilities just flowing all around. And it's Enigma who just got that control back again. Deathmaker, there was an attempt on round number 1, but unfortunately he won't be able to do anything in round number 2, which means it will be a flawless win at the hands of Enigma Gaming, 2-0. And now on round number 3, here comes the deciding factor. They'll be in the bonus rounds, which means that Velocity Gaming has their proper weapons and their utilities too. Vandals and Phantoms. Now, I can understand they are opting in for an execute from A, which means there will be a lot of contests being made from A long itself, from MW1's end.
Velocity with a sort of question mark with them now, where their buy's pretty good, but they're against the bonus of Enigma, who went into that second round without losing a single player. They're just going to be up against Spectre. Beautiful flash to start. MW1's able to avoid it. Low HP, though, is finished off by RVK. A clean trade. RVK is trying to double down. Amaterasu sends him straight back to the nursery. You don't want to be trying to get out your crib this early. Enigma, a man down, but with quite a bit of map control to show for it. They have a pretty good idea as to where Velocity are headed. The question is, can they just stop this hit to be?
It turns out you could say that Velocity has things under control with Neon, MW1, who just made his fair share of best efforts, but I'm not quite sure it's going to work out for them. They got the B control, which means that they have their confirmations. They will execute in B. Post plant will also come in, which means it's a 2-4 difficult situation, though. But Rexy's still alive. He'll ensure that none of those flanks attempts would work in from their end. But it's a bit too late. Information's been given. Post plant is in, which means Raw Fuel is the only man left. At this point, you still need to understand the fact that VLT has things under control when it comes to having their orbs. Even one more kill would give Deathmaker the confirmation on his tour de force. So, Raw Fuel, I'm guessing he'll just save it out. Do exactly that. And Enigma will just gladly fall back for now.
really, really strong round from Velocity. To be able to just isolate and sort of outflank each player of Enigma, it feels like for Enigma, they just got out-positioned, outmaneuvered, rather than so much out-aimed. But it's a clean way to shut down your opponent's anti-eco. More importantly, keeping 4 players alive means you have quite a bit of cash behind you now as you go into your 4th.
For now, you could think that Enigma Gaming still has under control in the first half, right? The only problem was they couldn't get to succeed in the bonus round, which means that when it comes to economy-wise, they're looking pretty good from their end. But in this round, if Velocity gets to win one more round on attack, this will be the most critical round that Velocity needs to succeed. And MW1, fastest as ever, is not going to waste any time at all trying to get control on Ace versus End.
Them down.
And Enigma knows about this. They knows that the sheer aggressiveness that they could provide from A long, and MW1, oh no, he gets caught out. This is more concerning from MW1's end. But no contest being made from Enigma, so he should be fine. But the main problem that Enigma needs to be careful of has to be from Antidote. He's been tagged a lot, but with the help of Sky's healing abilities, he'll be able to put himself back up to 100 HP, but not a lot. And look at that. But Creamer, you can see that VLT, they're just playing it patiently, seeing if they can get an opening pick or not. It's just the info games. At this point, you could say that Enigma Gaming is on point in winning those.
Raw fuel. On such a strong pursuit. This is a make or break, and MW1 just reads it. RVK, though, is there to pick up the mess, to pick up the pieces. Assisted by Antidote. It's a hell of a defense from Enigma there. They spot out right to Ace. Beautiful util usage. And just like that, Enigma absolutely decimate Velocity. What I really like there, Baba, as well, is the usage of the Fade utility. When MW1 went for that fast play to sewers, the utility, it wasn't to stop, it was to slow. And that meant that by the time the Velocity assault actually landed on this Ace site, they already had every needed player in position. They already had the Killjoy there to assist as well. They already had their crossfire set up, and it was just a matter of landing their shots, which they were able to do, well, beautifully.
You want to play?
Yeah, the best part about this round is that Antidote has the lockdown, so even if there is a difficult situation for Enigma Gaming to fail on the push that the attackers will do, you still have the backup. Even more so, the early pick that he succeeded right now into his garage side, and MW1 wants to contest this. He will win a lot, but a lot of damage has been dealt on from the Nano Swarm. Beautiful second shot at that too, to take out Excali.
I got this.
Now they just got an opening, but you need to be careful. Raw fuel is already in towards the mid. Gets taken out from LF. And now you could say that VLT has got things under control. They can just get back, proceed to the C plant. Imagine if the Jet could have won that gunfight. It would have been huge for Enigma's end, but it will be MW1 who will put a stop to it. 3 kills, and just like that, we will see Velocity Gaming claim another win on attack. 3-2 is the scoreline.
Neon's such a fun agent to watch, man, and especially with MW1 wheels, such a strong round, such a strong performance. And for Velocity, where Deathmaker slows, MW1 just speeds up. And for Enigma, Antidote, sure, he's having a pretty good performance, got it top fragging the server. Doing it on a Killjoy is difficult, and doing it over the span of an entire map can be even harder. For Raw Fuel, I want to see him get this operator out as soon as humanly possible, just to try and find a way to level the playing field. Really low HP onto the Sky as well, which means there won't be any way to heal. Nightfall is deployed from Enigma, and they're trying to go pretty aggressive off the back of this, but they've not been able to garner much from this Nightfall. All it's really done is buy a bit of time.
And that time will give favors for Enigma's end, because it kind of looks like they're falling back. Velocity Gaming apparently not having any control on choke points from either of those 3 sites. And now they're thinking of an execute from A. And RVK, if he just gets the info, even more so, gets a kill and just fall back without even getting a trade, this might be huge from Enigma's end. But let's not forget the fault line is present. It's all just patience games. You could say there's a bit of distractions, though, from their end. And look at that. Opening from MW1. They know exactly what they were thinking. And here it is.
30
be
seconds left.
controlled.
Velocity now with a man advantage. What can they do with it, though? The Jets on A. Rofiel is so alone here. Rofiel has to go huge. He's good for the first. He knows there's a second coming. But MW1, man, he's just, with that Neon, he's in every position he needs to be in to secure these rounds. And sure, comes down to the final 10 seconds, but it doesn't matter. Enigma, they're left with Excali, who just needs to get out of there and save. The money on Enigma's been shattered. And Velocity are looking to go back to the kind of bind Velocity, which looks just unrelenting in their aggression. I'm loving this Neon so far.
Yeah, this Neon has been devastating for Enigma Gaming's Zen. Whenever he finds an opening, that is more than enough for VLT to just go ham on it. And right now you might be thinking from Enigma's end, what could they do to reduce this? How can they take out NW1, who is being so dangerous on the executes, especially on the attack side? What can they do? Is there any counters that they could take out MW1? Most of the time, you could see that VLT is currently playing for picks in the early round. And when it comes to that, when they know that they have certain information regarding how many players are still present from their recent sides, VLT, they exactly knew that there wasn't a lot of player contesting from the A side, right? They thought that, yeah, there might be one, but anything more than that, they're already holding from B and C. So when they thought about doing that, they need to figure out a way to get control from A long, right? And that's exactly where NW did the unthinkable. He played it patiently, and because of that, you saw VLT succeed in that round. Beautifully done. Even more so, in this round itself, we see Deathmaker, an opening pick to take out the Sky.
So the clean opening, and for Velocity, they have a huge ult advantage going into this as well. They've still got that overdrive, they've got that rolling thunder, they've even got the Seekers. I doubt we'll see all of them use this round, but the fact that they have that choice, they have that plethora of abilities to commit with. There's the Seekers going out, there is counteraction of the lockdown, but look at it! Enigma tries to be proactive, and it's just on the wrong site. It's going to be punished instantly. Right space with the opening is all that's required. And now through the smoke, KLF shuts down the blade storm. Rofiel, I don't think he's got a single blade out. That 1,000-folded steel going back into the cutlery drawer as the Fade alone in a 1v5 now for Enigma marks what has been an absolute shutdown off of the back of just a couple of gamer squids from the Sky.
Man, you just had to feel that. The lockdown, which was so influential if VLT made an execute on A, but turns out that was misinformed. Man, this is not good from Enigma's end. They just lost the lockdown, the value didn't work out too much in their favor, and what's even more detrimental is that Velocity Gaming is the one who is holding the torch. They have control on eco rounds, even more so the the mind games that you see from VLT is working out so very well. And now Enigma is at the back end of the seat. This is not good at all. Not a lot of weapons that they could invest in the round. And that's the reason why timeout has been requested.
I like how calm Velocity look as well. No one looking particularly shaken by this opening. Rofiel does look a little bit worried. Granted, that may be because of the FPS of his camera. For a moment, that was the face of, oh god. But luckily, for Enigma, they're an experienced team. It's going to take more than 3 rounds to tilt them. The one thing that I'm interested in now is how do these operators sculpt this tough? Because that is going to be the one thing that can hold back some early aggression. It's going to be the one pivot point Enigma have because of how damn good Rofiel is with that operator. We finally see it brought into circulation. Round 8, sure it's a late rise, but what matters is what it can do once it's here.
Velocity back again. This time, opting out of control from Garage. Killjoy immediately knows about this, so Nana Swarm will be used. A lot of utilities has been used from his end too. What's even more problematic is that Breach has his ultimate, so when that ultimate arrives, man, this will be a lot of problems for them to deal with, especially on the C side. Rexy's still alive though. He hasn't caught out, but that aftershock will force him to reposition himself. And here comes Deathmaker. Already won. Rexy's still alive, but a trade will happen nonetheless from right to Ace's end. A 3v4 equalizer. I wouldn't say an equalizer. 3v4. Velocity still on the upper hand. And MW1, he is looking for that kill. RBK gets shot on from Helaps's end. Garage control no longer there's an antidote. He needs to find the poisonous venom so that he can administer an aid towards that spot. But can they succeed in 2v4? I'm not quite sure. They have been at a very disadvantageous positionings. He will get the kill though. Eliminating Hell F. Even more so, MW1's gone, which means that they'll have some, some money at their hands. But this is even much more concerning from Enigma, because it's the same example that we've seen in map number 1, where Enigma, when they're on defense, there was a lot of situations where they had to save their weapons, a lot of anti-eco rounds, which wasn't won at the hands of Enigma Gaming. And even if you make a comparison between this, you could say that, yeah, a really great shot though from Raw Fuel's end. So continuing back the conversation I had, Velocity Gaming, they've had a lot of thrifty rounds that they've won from the opposition's end. So you could say that Enigma Gaming, they're not looking good on anti-eco rounds, because Velocity Gaming, they've always have things under control. And now, 3 to 5 in the first half, this will be even much more detrimental if they lose this round as well.
You're right, and the silver lining for Enigma is they still have the operator. They're able to save that across, they still have the handle as well. They're not neutered in firepower, but they're certainly wounded. And look how aggressive MW1 is. Knowing that there's going to be a push, knowing that there's going to be an attack somewhere, MW1 wants to punish that by outflanking the aggressors. Now, swings out, RVK falls, and it's just near perfect through the smoke. Yeah, Rolfield's trying what he can, but what can an operator do? Moving on to a site where there are 4 enemies equipped who know you're coming and know that past this operator, you don't have any firepower.
Not a lot of that too, and MW1 is he's just a monster with Neon. One more kill of that too to take out Antidote, and now Enigma is just caught in a very tough spot. Raw Fuel is he just slides in.
Not impressed.
Take out the op. They had the information, fault line, it's just absolute perfect execution from VLT's end. They are unstoppable on the A execute, and this will be even more concerning from Enigma's end, because they have to figure out a way to hold their ground from the A side, which means that there will be a lot of fortifications being made. You see 3 players already from the A side, which means that C and B side will have a lot of utilities from KJ's end. But man, this will be a tough run from Velocity. Sorry, from Enigma, that is.
Cover going out.
You're right. But for Velocity as well, even if they lose every round for the rest of the half here and it ends 6-6, they've done enough. They're at their critical mass now. Everything more is bonus. And for Enigma, that's going to be a really cruel reality when they now have to go into another buy. Bear in mind, it's another buy down to 0, Baba. They have no money past what's in their hands, which means that every death they face is going to be felt not just in the soul, but in the wallet.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's a coffin in the nail when it comes to losing a lot of money from their end, especially from Enigma. This round is a desperate attempt for the defenders to win if they have to get their match back on track. And looks like VLT is taking their sweet time once again. 47 seconds left, which means that they don't have much information regarding the Garage and the C players. And Rexy, with the high ground potential and that cover from Raw Fuel, he might be able to end it with another kill. Paranoia is still present, a lot of shots, which has been concussed, but gets the kill anyways. And you could say that they have things under control. Rexy, 3 kills!
Oh.
And just like that, we will see Enigma come back at a very risky round, 4-6. They've got their money back, which means that they will stay alive. But for how long? That's the biggest question.
I'm really surprised Deathmaker actually just doesn't peek Rexy here. Bear in mind, Rexy didn't do any audio cues. He didn't fake his teleport. He didn't fake it from the shadows. He literally just dropped, and Deathmaker just got caught out completely there. Really strong round from Rexy. My worry here, Baba, is how consistently can Enigma do that? How consistently can they get Rexy into a position that isn't going to be expected? How consistently can they crossfire? And for Velocity, look at how they've changed that state of play. They go for a heavier push to Garage, and they go for a faster push through Garage, assisted by the seniors.
Yeah, it turns out BLT is angry. And oh boy, are they angry. They are so angry at this point. Seaside control back again. It's Raw Fuel's turn to bring this match under control, and turns out it won't happen because MW1 is still here playing near the smoke. And now it's all down to RVK. They have all the necessary utilities that they have to counter the push, counter the positionings, even more so the peak that RVK does. Breach is present, which means that although he doesn't have a lot of utilities, his fault line will be active. Even more so, BLT already has the upper hand when it comes to gaining control on the chokehold. RVK wants to attempt this 1v3, but unfortunately time is ticking. And RVK, I think it's best for him to just fall back for now. And BLT knows exactly what's happening. They want to hunt him down as best as possible. They don't want to give any chance for Enigma Gaming to come back. But all in all, in the end, it will be another win at the hands of the attackers. 4-7. And this will be the last half. When it comes to utilities end, Right to Ace has one more kill or an orb left to get his From the Shadows ability up and running. Even more so, the same thing can be said to RVK. His ultimate will be up and running too. So, oh boy, MW1, 14 kills, Kramer. You could say that this is nerve-wracking from Enigma's end because you have no idea what Velocity Gaming will do in the last half.
You want to play? Let's play.
I said I liked the Neon. And for good reason, Baba. MW1's so good, man. RVK is going to be contested in mid here. Now, there is a Blade Storm over on Raw Field to potentially help in this endeavor, but for RVK, Crossfire is going to have to be buggery to outmaneuver. Luckily, MW1, why fight? Why risk Crossfire when you can just pull in and kill everyone? Ah, funny you mentioned that, MW1. I hadn't considered that. Can you show me how it's done? Okay, Raw Fuel. Blade Storm in hand is going to be the first objective for MW1 here, and Wild Labor, there's a shutdown. All right, MW1, what else do you have? Obviously quite a bit. It's all down to Rexy. 1 versus 5, Spectre in hand, and MW1's bullets in his brain.
Yeah, in the end, MW1 just slides in and says, I am speed. And that's exactly how VLT gets to win that. 4-8. And now here comes the big ones. The second half, everything's been reset, which means that Enigma has a chance to come back on defense, just like they did on map number 1, but eventually it ended up being as a shutdown as Velocity Gaming took things under control. But boy, oh boy, was that an electrifying round, though, from Neon's end. Constant kills from MW1, shutting down players one at a time. The counters from the utilities was so strong that Enigma Gaming has no idea on how to deal with that particular situation. But there's still a lot of utilities where it didn't work out quite well. If I have to give one, I have to say the lockdown from KO's end. That was the only lockdown I saw from Enigma, from Antidote's end. Only one lockdown, and the rest of it was just history.
It absolutely was, and there was just no... There was no follow-up. It feels like MW1 just goes in, the rest of the team follows him, and then if MW1 dies, which, let's be honest, he hasn't, then the rest of the team's there to clean it up. Instead, what happens is MW1 goes in and kills everyone, and then the rest of the team sort of sharpen plan. And so long as Velocity have those contingency plans, they still have Deathmaker. Deathmaker, it looks like he's having a quiet game. That's purely because MW1's killed everyone before he could show up. Like, if Deathmaker's then tested as well, if Deathmaker then comes online, what beats him? Well, what do Enigma do to stop it?
Even I also realized, Kramer, because in the first map, again, apologies for the pronunciation, on map number 1, we saw how powerful Deathmaker was as the duelist race. He was unstoppable. The kills were on point. The early peaks were so exquisite. But now you also need to understand that this in the second map, knowing that the map still being favored for Enigma's end. This is Enigma's map pick after all. Seeing him play as a chamber, he also needs to watch out for the flanks, right? That's why he has the traps to establish. He needs to ensure that none of those sneaky plays would happen from Enigma's end. And maybe that's the reason why he needs to halt out the aggression slightly a bit and let MW1 do the heavy lifting. And that has been successful. From VLT's end in the first half. And now we get to see whether if Deathmaker can handle out the defensive hold, which will be made from A-Long's end. I really can't wait to see what will happen in this pistol round.
You're right. This pistol round's going to be a tone setter. It's going to tell us what sort of symphony we're going to be playing here. Because if Velocity take it, this could be a very quick map. If Enigma take it, then a comeback song. MW1, look at that aggression! Excali eventually kills him, but the fact MW1's able to get a kill there is just criminal. And for Enigma, a man down now, Rexy, spike in hand, but alone in the process, is going to be hit by the trademark. So much so, Deathmaker's going to push off the back of it. There's that kill. There's the blink away. More importantly, with the knowledge of the spike, look at the rotation now that comes from Velocity. They just send onto this A site like a spider finding its prey in a web, and this web of lies may leave Rawfuel to believe that this A site's clear. Little does he know, though, the flank from Sewers is going to put a spanner in the works very swiftly. He does have the identification of Deathmaker, so he knows where at least one of his players are. He should attempt to be able to shut that down with a quick opening, but from the flank, right to waist comes in, and we'll get that defuse, and more importantly, get that 9th round for Velocity.
Tack, tack.
9th round it is, and what a way to continue the aggression from NW1's end. It's just... Man, can you really expect a push like that, Grimmer? Say, for example, even if I was playing on a particular map and you see a Neon just swooshing around out of nowhere, you have defensive utilities, you even have the turret which was placed in to ensure that none of those aggro plays would come in from Velocity, and turns out NW1 decides, you know what, since I have speed and accuracy in my end, I don't mind if there's more than 2 to 3 players holding in towards the garage end. I will take out every single person and find an opening so that I can give the hopes and dreams for Team Velocity to succeed in this map. And he evidently did that. And even more so, look at this hold. Look at this hold. A lobby, there's 3 players holding it. 3 angles. They have Spectres in hand, and they've decided, you know what, we're not gonna let Enigma get a single kill, and even if it is, we will get the trade nonetheless.
You're right, and with MW1 now having to try and try to find some kills, he might run out soon. The rest of the team's doing all the damage. Amaterasu is the one to deliver. Of course, though, it's not a Velocity round without MW1 killing someone. Over in mid, Excali, clean shot, finishes off LF. Hit by the Aftershock, though, means that he does have to be a little bit slow with this follow-up. Deathmaker, bit of damage able to be converted. I mean, with a kill off the back of it, it leaves already beaten, battered and bruised Rawfuel to the mercy of MW1. As Velocity hit double digits, they get ready to send Enigma packing in what's going to be our opening best of 3 to Group B.
I gotta say, what a way to start off on match number 1 itself, Kremer. First map, boy oh boy, was it a sight to see, 13-9. Now on second, being on map Haven, we see Team Velocity being in the lead once again, 10-4. I believe a TAC pause have been requested on the hands of VLT. I believe there is some problems just made, so we won't have a lot of problem from VLT. But all in all, 4-10 Kremer. And since I said that a decider can happen, turns out I'm not quite sure it's more likely for it to happen. Yeah, we're both wrong about it. Caster's curse. Would you believe it?
I'm not giving up hope yet. I still think Enigma can find a way to bring this back, but let's be honest, MW1 is playing out of his mind right now.
Oh yeah, he is. And imagine if MW1 gets picked out quite early, you still have the backup Deathmaker, right? So everything is sorted out well and good. But for Enigma, if they have to make a play, then it has to be either Rawfuel or Excali, because things are not working well enough from their end, and a bit of a flash and an execute which could help out to be more aggressive from their end might help out from Enigma, but they're not making an attempt to do so. I mean, I can understand in the previous round, the only main reason why we saw VLT be aggressive on their end is because they're back with only just pistol rounds, right? They only have a sheriff in their hand, some minor utilities, and that's the reason why they went aggressive in the first place. They want to pick it out quite early to ensure that they wouldn't have an immediate control on the side itself. So, man, there's not a lot that I could say from Enigma. They're trying their level best, they're trying to hold their ground, and if they have to come back, then this round is the most influential one. They have the Vandals. The only problem is 3 players doesn't have the heavy armor. From Antidote, from RVK and Rexy. And if they get picked out quite early either from MW1 or Deathmakers, and imagine the amount of problems that Enigma had to face. Not only did they get to, lose their body count, they also will get an upgrade on their weapons, which will be even more devastating knowing that this is the bonus round from VLT's end.
You're right. What I quite like with this, in general, SA Valorant, is that right now we don't really have a rank 1 team. Because you've got what? GE, Velocity, Enigma, Orangutan.
Yeah.
Orangutan kind of counts even though they have quite an international roster. And then you've even got sort of upstart teams like Elstreak, right? We say pick any of those teams, Baba. Just give me 2 of them. Just start off the top of your head. Just shout 2 of them at me.
Top 3 teams. It's difficult to predict. I mean,
Right,
it's
exactly.
difficult to say it, Kramer, because they're always head to head. Even though if you say who is the top one in the SA region, I'm like, any of the 3 teams, I don't know. They're just so equally challenging, and that's why I love SA region, because it's always head to head. You will never know who will be at the top one. Sometimes it might be GE, sometimes it might be BLT, even more so it might be some other teams. It's just like you will never expect what will happen, and the unpredictability that you have from SA region is exactly what I like about Valorant.
You're right, and
Turret's destroyed.
for now, there's no established leader. Antidote shuts down MW1, finally able to finish off the Neon, but is that enough? Because now Deathmaker has some space to play with. Amaterasu a bit too aggressive, Antidote is able to shut it down. Looks like Enigma may be able to get a rain on things now, instantly getting control of the C site. And while there is a Killjoy lurking in the back line, that Killjoy isn't going to have too much effects until much later in this retake. If Velocity can get into the C site before the flank comes from Enigma, this could be perfect for them.
It's not a lot they can get information though, although that opening though from Antidote. We'll find out one. Deathmaker's gone, which means right to Ace and Hellf. They think you're making an attempt. I mean, they could. It is the bonus round nonetheless, which means that they'll get the upgrade of the Vandal, and they'll just decide to fall back. All in all, a good execute from Enigma Gaming. They will survive this round nonetheless. But back again, just like Kramer said, consistency is key. And if Enigma is consistent on their attack rounds, then that is more than enough for them to come back and ensure an equalizer to 10-10.
Yeah, you're right. And for Velocity, luckily for them, they are in a position where where they can sacrifice a few rounds and still be in a pretty good position. For Enigma though, the main issue they face here is their economy's terrible. Even if they win rounds, if they lose every single player in the process, then they're going to be worse off than how they were before they even won rounds. Which is kind of a catch-22 for them here, and it's a really good way of sort of shooing away any aggression. It means Velocity gets some really early land grabs, and we see that now with the Omen going all the way through lobby here. Hellf's already got the opening. RVK doesn't even anticipate someone to be this close to him. It's not a pretty start.
Yeah, RVK needs to be careful though. Because we see 3 players, actually 2 players back in the A lobby. Execute will happen nonetheless. Deathmaker is just playing this patiently, finds one, doesn't get the second, and Rexy gets the trade. And RVK is just patiently waiting to see whether if that flank would be denied. Eventually he will do that, but MV1 is so quick on the trigger. Headshot.
Player standing.
Raw fuel down at the hands of right to Ace. This is not good. Rex is the last man standing. He doesn't have the necessary utilities nor the flashes to even contest this 1v3, which means that Velocity, they've got it under control, but with the important opening that Rexy might get, Right to Ace is still watching that, but it's too late. Right to Ace gets the kill, and with it, VLT gets things under control. 5-11. They're 2 rounds away to succeeding map number 2 and the victory of match number 1. And this will be even much more problematic from Enigma's end. 5-11. Economy not looking good. And now they're at the deficit in this round.
This is really worrisome now, because there's a world where Rexy even just backs off and just saves that Vandal. He now has to go into Velocity's bid for a match and series point, and they're doing it against Sheriffs. Not what you want at all. The only ult in circulation as well is going to be that lockdown, so there really isn't much outside of gunplay to rounds like these. For Velocity, that favors them beautifully. I mean, hey, just let Deathmaker go wild. I love that skin for the operator. It's so cool. But we'll see if he can put it to good use. Unfortunately, no, he can't. It will be the heirloom operator now, which Rothfuel may be able to retrieve later on in this round. With an attempt made to head towards the safe site, it's going to be Amaterasu, the main player, to stop them from this attack.
Yeah, the push is on from Enigma, and it's Rothfuel who needs to ensure that none of those problems would appear from their end. There's a lot of tensions appearing from the defensive hold because Deathmaker, he just got eliminated right off the bat from that AE execute. And now it's all down to MW1 to see whether they can come back. Flank's been taken care of from Amaterasu. A job well done from Velocity's end, and now they just have to focus on the site. Trailblazer will give a lot of information accordingly, which means that they need to be careful on the push. And now here comes MW1, sprints as ever! Oh, he got all 3 players, and what is that? What was that, MW1? He just sprints out of nowhere, and even with the smoke, it's still not enough. There was an opening. And it's Velocity Gaming back at match point 5-12. MW1, he is insane. He's just there out in the open, and you have no idea. Enigma had no idea where MW1 was. Man, you gotta love that agent. You have to love Neon. The speed. You just gotta love the speed.
It's just... What do you do if you're Enigma as well? Because they were in the right position. They were doing the right thing. They had a crossfire set up. They were saving their utility. They were feathering their utility. They did everything right. And it still went wrong once MW1 disappears into their backline. And that should really be a testament as to how bloody good he is on this Neon.
Yes, he is. I mean, this is the main reason why MW1 is in the top of the leaderboards when it comes to SA region wise. 22 kills, LF having Seekers. The only thing that Enigma has right now is an opportunity for a lockdown execute, in which it will happen nonetheless from Antidote's end. But they also need to understand that the timing is what it's really necessary for Enigma to pull off an attack coordination like that. They could use it for post-plant, or maybe they could use it at the initial rounds. And I believe that's exactly what they're trying to discuss in the timeout itself. They need to know at what time would it be best for them to use the lockdown. But this is match point, so everything is on the clock for Enigma. And MW1 will be the one doing the initiative in a long. He will be holding the sight lines, whereas Deathmaker will be holding his ground from C-Long itself. Seekers will be present from Hell F, so even if there is a lot of problems in the attackers' end, there will be a good control around the situation. Trailblazer is in, concussion, takes out, which means that Hell F is still in a good spot. His location has been compromised, and that is not working out from their end. Here comes MW1, 2, 3, stings! It stings a lot for Enigma! And oh boy, what a way to end it off with the end coming in.
I tell you what, MW1, he's going to rock us down to Electric Avenue, and Velocity are going to take it higher. What a damn performance from them there, and more importantly, what a way to kickstart your journey into Group B with a 2-0 victory against the likes of Enigma. And more importantly, they do so without really breaking a sweat. They just sort of let MW1 off his leash and let him go kill, and I tell you what, that man can kill.
Oh yes, indeed, MW1. Definitely the MVP of map number 2. And unfortunately for Rothfuel, it just didn't work out well from Enigma's end. 2 map wins at the hands of VLT, and they are looking very powerful, Kremer. They are looking very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely right. And bear in mind, this is all to qualify for a LAN. This is the group stage, and the games are this good. What on earth is going to be happening on LAN? Someone actually asked, how much are the LAN tickets? And that's a really good question, though. Do you know why? Because they're free. You could just show up. I think you do still need a ticket, but the tickets are free. There's no reason to not go to this.
I mean, although you still need to be careful about the traveling expenses, the staying
Oh yeah,
expenses. But hey,
that
the
sucks.
registrations are free though. You don't have to
Yeah,
worry about that. That's the best part about it. Even more
yeah.
so, the winner gets a huge lefty prize pool of that too. So imagine the amount of electricity, or not electricity, the amount of
You have to get a lot of electricity.
not electricity. I was trying to say something more motivating, like the amount of power that you get from the land event stage will be electrifying. Electrifying was the word that I was about to say, and it ended up with me being electricity. But yeah, all in all, map number 2, what a way for Velocity Gaming to end it off on a match like that.
What I quite like as well is we look at these highlights. Every now and then we get a highlight which just isn't NW1. Like 80% of this is NW1 going into a position he shouldn't be and still killing everyone. Like look at this. He's just running through his own smokes. He's diving into operators. He just kills people, man. Is that allowed? Can we stream that?
MW1, he's just on point. The slides, the unexpected plays out of nowhere that put Enigma in a very bad spot on both the first half as well as the second. And Deathmaker, although he was very quiet in the first initial rounds, he was playing as a sentinel, of course. He was watching down the flanks. He also did a fairly good work on the defensive hold too. You still need to say that, man, although this is the first group stages match after all, there is still a lot of chances that Enigma still come back. But man, what was that on the second map? MW just went crazy. The same thing can be said to Deathmaker too in the first map itself. Raw Fuel was there. He made his fair share of best efforts, but in the end, it just couldn't work out. The contest, the counter utility that they've placed, not a single time have we seen a lockdown being placed, although it was just once, and that once was a misdirection from Velocity's end when they were on attack. But man, Enigma Gaming, they won't be happy that they didn't get to succeed winning map number 1, but at least they still have a chance about it, right? MVP,
Yeah.
MW1, 25 kills. The man is an absolute beast with the neon plays. And Antidote will be the one from his MFP's end too, 14 kills from him.
You're absolutely right. And it gets even better, Baba, because that's not it. We've got even more games for you today. In
Yep.
I believe it's probably in about an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not good at time zones. It's roughly an hour and a half. We've got an Ardi Army versus Orangutan, and that's the open group A. We've got bangers today, man. We have got actual bangers. And the fact that we've seen both Deathmaker and MW1 deliver in our first series, my question now is who are the following rosters is going to pop off in our second series? Will it be the likes of Aura? Maybe Lost? Maybe Aduka? Maybe Tesseract? And the only one way to find out, of course, that game will be a one you do not want to miss. So be sure to follow the channel. Be sure to follow all the socials down below. I imagine they're all in the description. As well as in the description, you can get your tickets to the LAN finals in Bangalore?
Yeah, in Bangalore,
Right,
Kramer,
Bangalore.
yes.
Yeah.
12th, 13th, and 14th August. 3 days back to back, Kramer.
Nabu would have lost it with me if I just sent everyone to the wrong city. So I'm glad.
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. Yeah, it's sometimes there's a lot of people who says Bangalore, Bengaluru, but yeah, all in all, yeah, it was the right city, Kramer. Don't worry about it. 13-9, 13-5. There you go, folks. That's our first matchup done and dusted. But the show's not over yet. We still have our second matchup. It's Anadi Army who will go up against Team Orangutan, which will happen in an hour or so, folks. So don't worry about it. So make sure you are prepped and ready with the second matchup as well.
Was that a throw to break?
Uh,
No.
you could
we
yeah.
keep going. We keep going.
Yeah.
we're really bad at this, man. Now, I'm going to lay down my prediction a bit early. Yeah, maybe getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but well, we're getting excited. Why not? I think for me, the team that's going out of Group A is probably going to be Orangutan and Revenants. However, I've got a bit of inside information, which is a few of the teams who have been scrimming against Medal have said that Medal are actually quite good. For a new team, they have got a very, very big amount of early success. So I think it's probably going to be a duel between Medal and Revenant for second place.
Yeah, they can. Especially Medal Esports and Anadi Army being the one who just got the spot at the wildcard ticket. They are in Group A, but you still need to know the way how Anadi Army has been performing since the previous Quals 1 and Quals 2. They've lost a lot of chance, but they got it back up, which means that they have a lot of work to do if they have to survive in the Group A stages. Even more so, Group B will be, it's just chaos everywhere. You have Reckoning, you have Lethal, even more so, just like we saw Velocity versus Enigma Gaming. So you just don't know what will happen next in the future matches, of course, in Group B. But all in all, man, what a way to end it off in the first match, folks. But don't worry, second matchup will happen nonetheless. Team Anadi Army versus Orangutan will be the second match. But for now, this will be the end of the first stream itself. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is me, Bob Gusta, with my co-caster Kramer3, and we will see you guys in the next match. Until then, take care. See you guys.
From the legends of memory and storage. Crucial brings you the ultimate performance in gaming. Legendary products. Precision engineered. For speed and stability. Crucial ballistics.
Hey, we can run away. You say you want to. You wanna go back. You wanna go back to a place where we can hide. You wanna stay there, You wanna stay there, we can leave it, play me high. Hey, we can run away. You say you want to. You wanna go back, wanna go back. You wanna go back to a place where
legends of memory and storage. Crucial brings you the ultimate performance in gaming. Legendary products. Precision engineered. For speed and stability. Crucial ballistics.